It's getting worse for Black Ops 7 after underperforming by 60 to 70% in some regions. It's now getting refunded on Steam by Steam for breaking their AI rules. You cannot make this up. This is absolute peak perfection, boys.
Okay, everyone, today's story is actually pretty damn big. So here's what's going on, right? Players are getting refunds for Call of Duty this year, and it's not because of the absurd campaign or some sort of matchmaking disaster. No, they are demanding their money back because they're finding the game is filled with AI-generated art that was never mentioned in the marketing. And what matters there is they're actually getting the refunds. But it's not just Call of Duty, because Ubisoft is also under fire. And that's because while we're talking
Well, Ubisoft is on fire, to be a little bit more specific, honestly.
about AI slop, right? The real problem isn't
AI slop, boys, it is what it is. Ubisoft has it, Microsoft has it. Some people are saying AI is bad. You know what I honestly think? I think AI is good. I think AI is the future. Well, let's be completely honest. What do you want? People at Blizzard making games, or AI just flipping the coin 5 times and seeing what happens? Yeah, chances are AI flipping that coin 5 times is gonna get a better result a lot more consistently than any of those companies. AAA has already seen a reckoning. Ubisoft completely is pretty much owned by Tencent at this point, okay? That's their only lifeline, that's their literally everything. Blizzard got bought by Microsoft. There's all of the big companies. Also, Bethesda got bought by Microsoft. Obsidian is is also a subsidiary of Microsoft now. Every big company, EA got bought by the Saudis. Every single old Bungie Bungie first got bought by Activision and then got bought by Sony at a discount. Jesus. All of these big companies, the companies that previously put out bangers, all of them are completely dead and already scooped up by some bigger entity.
necessarily the output. It isn't necessarily the intents that people say. Really, we should start looking at what people actually do, and we should look at the process. Because in reality, it's the management of these companies that are getting just as sloppy as the games. Alright, so this year
Yes, the management decided to again, you can blame the management, go for it. I have absolutely nothing against that. Management is very bad for a lot of these companies. They're kind of extremely out of touch, to say the bare minimum. But it's not management who decided to make your inventory system bad. It's not management who decided to make the UI unusable. Okay? That's the developers. We can blame the management and the developers when it comes to these things, okay? We don't have to pick one. We can blame all of them, and we can hope that all of them get blacklisted from the industry. Listen, I don't want anyone who worked on Dragon Age Belgard to ever work on a single game ever again, okay? Just welcome home to McDonald's or something. I doubt that they're gonna be able to handle that, honestly, but at least try to put them in McDonald's, not just shuffle them to some other game that to ruin for us again. I don't want that.
year's Call of Duty is once again full of generative AI slop, because whenever I think Call of Duty, I think of piss, filter, poisoned, Ghibli-adjacent fantasy art of some peasants.
When I think of Call of Duty, I think about the weapons of mass destruction, obviously.
Impressing a guard by catching a catfish. Yeah, that's Call of Duty, all right. And the images you're seeing right now are basically those of calling cards. They're floating around social media in the wake of the Black Ops 7 launch, because people have looked at them and thought, oh my god, what the hell is this? It's weird, tonally mismatched stuff that bears all the hallmarks of cheaply produced and barely reviewed generated art. And look, this isn't some blind see AI get really angry.
Wait, it's really bad. But it's still kind of better than the actual Call of Duty campaign.
Thing. No, sure, there's people who could probably do this stuff tastefully. What actually matters is this is a huge set of games.
Let's be real, the average artist is in no way better than AI. The reason artists are so mad about AI is because the AI is actually outperforming them at literally a small fraction of the cost.
where it's not being done tastefully, and that's actually happening at scale. Now, the funny thing about this with Call of Duty is that after the
1, 2, 3, 4, 5-ish. That's real. That yeah, nah, that's AI.
mass of Black Ops 6, audiences kind of expected this stuff, right? We all expected the
You see, this is some genetic good AI, I would say.
generic Steam AI disclosure thing. We all expected Activision responding to the news outlets, confirming something that they didn't do anything wrong and denying anything that they could have done wrong. And the reason why is actually because we've already had all of this happen this very year. It all went down back in August, where Associate Creative Director Miles Leslie told IGN that everything Gen AI that people saw in Black Ops 6 was there, quote, by accident, and that was never the intention. And the claim that he makes is that these
That was a funny one. Oh, this AI, it's just here on accident.
are basically just tools to help artists, but that the outputs are never to make it in-game. So that would mean that, say, our many-fingered zombie Santa friend was only meant to be a placeholder.
I thought that this is based, okay? If you're a Call of Duty player, this is what you deserve. Okay, I'm gonna be real. If you're a Call of Duty player, you do not deserve better than this. This is honestly luxury. Because the amount of slop you are willing to consume without even questioning anything, right there from the pipe, right there from the trough, you deserve worse, okay? This is too generous to begin with. Also, is that also a thing, or is that just a cuff? I can't tell.
Never should have shipped. You know, just a placeholder.
Oh, look at this. Look at this. It's melting into the gift box. That's nice. Oh, this actually makes no sense.
Meant to sit there and reflect.
Wait, this is why AI is literally never gonna actually take over. Because AI knows what you're asking of, but AI doesn't understand why it should be the way it is. It's like when you ask AI to draw a train with legs. It's gonna draw you a train with legs, but the tracks are probably still gonna be there for some reason.
Asset meant to sit there and reflect the vibe that the artists wanted until eventually a human could come in and replace it. Now, look, I'm happy enough to steelman this guy's position, and I'm all for artists having better tools and less drudgery in their job. But this keeps on happening, and I think that means we should be quite a bit more suspicious. So when I said it keeps happening, obviously that's right for Call of Duty, but it's also an industry-wide thing. First, there's a game that I should love, and that's Anno 1117 Pax Romana. It should be a bright spot in Ubisoft's calendar, but there are problems with the game, sadly. There's an unfinished campaign, some odd art decisions, and for today's purposes, an AI art problem. You see, Anno's art tends to be gorgeous, right? And that's why seeing it replaced with a thoughtless imitation.
Anno's art is really genetic. Most of Anno is extremely uninspired, to say honestly the least. It has always been like that. Anno's art is good, but then you understand how samey it feels, you know? There's no difference. If you have a house, there's never going to be a difference. It's always going to be exactly that type of feel to it. So that's not really great. So I don't care if they use AI. It's probably going to actually make it better.
With no experiential humanity behind it is a big nope for me. That's the type of art where even if it was to look pretty, it just wouldn't evoke a feeling in me. So here's actually what went down with this. Something in these loading screens caught people's eye. Basically, something was up. They were off-putting. We saw these renderings of somewhat human-shaped shadow figures. And no, this is not a Ghost Adventures episode, just random-ass shadow figures. Now that led to people then checking for the Steam AI disclosure. The disclosure was there, and of course it's a first for the Anno series. Now, I want you to remember that this is all happening at the same time that Ubisoft are catching some flack for allegedly machine translating the German language options for the game. So yeah, the Germans aren't pleased, and
What's the point of using a dead language? It's gonna be Arabic any day now.
I suspect that also extends to the official Germans, by which I mean the government. I say that because the German government awarded Ubisoft a 5.7 million euro cultural development grant in 2023. So they probably won't like the look of this weird slop job with the damn German translation. Now, admittedly, that grant's likely because the game's development team is a large German employer, and that would mean that the government would want to back them. But hey, if you're a French publisher making a historical strategy game, do I really have to say it? Don't piss off the Germans. Come on, it keeps on going badly when we do that. But jokes aside, it is a bad look on both counts, and that is why Ubisoft did actually respond to things. So according to them, the offending scenes were just generative AI placeholders that slipped through review. They just slipped in, but thankfully that now they are being fixed. But when you actually look at the fixes, you see they're not done in a way that would inspire hope, because they're just touching up the offending mistakes with what's there, rather than replacing it fully, which I think suggests that whenever push comes to shove, yeah, they actually are happy to just do the quick dirty thing and cut some corners. Can't imagine any of us find that particularly surprising, but what's maybe more surprising is just how sloppy they're getting, how far the standards are falling. So look, it's not necessarily the technology itself that is turning people's stomachs. It can also be the use of that technology, and in this case, the sheer sloppiness, the lack of care. Now, we've heard the placeholder excuse multiple times this year. Hell, even Expedition 33, yes, that game, even it fell foul of it. Basically, there was an in-game poster that was found, turned out to be a placeholder, and it was replaced a week after launch. I suppose it's the more innocuous of today's three main examples. But here's basically what happens. Devs use generative AI tools to create a almost production-ready asset. They then populate the game. They put those assets in, and you know what? Because they've used the quickly made AI placeholder thing, actually, when the placeholders are in, they probably do get a bunch of the vibe that they're looking for. But then what happens is, there's a release date for the game. There is a rush to ship, and that can mean that those assets...
That is such bull, actually. This is completely untrue. In game production, you know, by a lot of games, most games actually look kind of decent graphics wise. Well, there's most of them at least. There's a lot of exceptions, but stick with me, right? Because artists are the first ones who finish their job, so they have a lot of spare time to make it better. It's not hard being an artist. It really isn't. It's not. It just is not. Most artists are just lazy and trash their job. Most games, artists are the ones who finish the first. Pretty much, they always finish the first, okay? So the fact that they have AI left is just because the artists are just even too lazy to replace that. That's how it is. You don't even need these placeholders. Your typical artist is gonna finish the job already.
They never get replaced. So you can see why they do it. You can even see some benefits over the traditional style of placeholder, which was meant to be so egregious and obvious that you really just couldn't ship them. You know, just a blank texture saying delete me or something. That would mean that people would notice the placeholder is there and it wouldn't get shipped. And sometimes,
exactly,
yeah, a mistake would happen. Something would slip in. Maybe a wrong build is uploaded or human error happens. Now that happens even without Gen AI built placeholders. But when the placeholders, if you were to sort of squint your eye and look at them, almost look like the finished product, then it's a lot harder to get that part of the process right. And look, not everyone hates Gen AI on principle. That's a totally fine thing to think, by the way. I mean, if people broadly did, we wouldn't be praising Game of the Year nominee Expedition 33, which did decide to use that stuff as a part of its pipeline. Right? Not intended to be final results, but as a part of its pipeline. So here's the thing, right? Plenty of people will tell you that if you hate Gen AI, that's okay. Just don't buy those games. Right? Easy enough. There's tons of options out there. And sure, audiences do have different standards. We actually saw that recently with Arc Raiders, where some people drew their personal line there, others didn't, and that is completely okay. Almost all
LOL, no one quit the Arc Raiders because it had generated voice lines. Oh no, Young Ye didn't receive a job. Oh no, Alana Pierce cannot do the back thing, if you know what I'm saying, and get more jobs. It is insane. Wow.
are actually a spectrum of belief. This isn't some binary AI good, AI bad thing. But what I would say is that when the product itself becomes messy, or the company doesn't seem to care, or appears to be disrespectful of player time, well then it is so much easier to shift a player's position on that spectrum. And that's why, even if they do want to use these tools, the industry has got to hold themselves to a higher standard. Because whenever the generative AI placeholder art isn't replaced, and is just tidied or updated, it's actually kind of clear that functionally, those ended up not being placeholders. They actually were just a cut corner that the company got away with. And pretending otherwise, I think, is what's actually frustrating people here. Thus far, we've covered a big reason why people are frustrated, but I'd actually wager it goes far, far, far deeper than that. So let's dive in. Some people are fine with Gen AI whenever it is intentional or feels thoughtful. Now, you may remember the Screen Actors Guild voice actor strike. Just before that came to an end, Epic Games unveiled a
no, I do not actually. I did not care.
Chatbot-powered Darth Vader NPC for Fortnite. Now, Epic used James Earl Jones's voice with his family's blessing, and then they ran it through an LLM trained on scraped internet text, which is why we could have Darth Vader reciting the story of Kingdom Hearts to us.
Very well, Sky. But I will not stop until I get to 200 sentences. The tale begins on the Destiny Islands, where young Sora and his friends Riku and Kairi dream of exploring new worlds beyond their idyllic home.
Bit of a strange thing. Maybe just like how Anno could approximate some Roman art, or Call of Duty could try to ape the Ghibli style, and people were mostly fine with it for Fortnite. But from what I can tell, with COD and Anno,
Fortnite is just generalized slop. No one cares in the first place, I think.
Hit people completely differently, and I think that's what gets us to the heart of this issue.
Call of Duty is so unanimously hated at this point that honestly, any slightest reason to be negative about it, people are gonna take. That's just how it goes. When you have something this bad, everything that's bad about it is going to be talked about. That's just how these things work. If something is good, people are going to talk about all the different good things surrounding it. So this is an expected outcome for an expected situation. Nothing out of the ordinary. But the fact that Call of Duty is getting more refunded and losing more Steam, that's really good. I like that. That puts a smile on my face, okay? Everything else, whatever. But Call of Duty suffering, oh boys, that's the good stuff right there. Anyway, that was Bellier Games at, here's the blue space, blue check mark. No, you know what I'm going for. This one. Anyway, have a nice day. Bye-bye.